Hi, good morning. I am so happy to be here. As you heard, thank you for warmly welcoming me today. I had a great experience at National Geographic, and that's predominantly my background. I was there for about 10 years and had a wonderful time working with different tourism boards around the world, but also working with travel editorial teams, whether it was related to social media or newsletters or just storytelling in general through content. But I'm also so happy to be back because I'm actually originally from Oklahoma. I'm from Tulsa, and so I was in DC for several years and recently returned, and it's such an honor and privilege to be here today because agritourism is so popular and is such a huge part of the future of Oklahoma. So thank you so much for inviting me today. So a lot of what I will be sharing today is different ways to help you maximize your budget, because most of us are working with small budgets. And I was fortunate to work with all different kinds of tourism boards from around the world, whether they had million-dollar budgets, but also small budgets. And now even at the Oklahoma Aquarium, it's a much smaller budget than I'm used to. But still, many of the different things that we worked and did around the world with different tourism organizations apply to the small budget that I work with today, and I think can help you as well. And so today, we'll be talking about marketing your business on a budget, and hopefully you enjoy a lot of the pictures you see, because being at National Geographic, we are a very visual brand, so I like to incorporate different fun pictures, so hopefully you enjoy that as well. So some of the key takeaways are just going to be how to maximize your business on different platforms with your budget. And a lot of the different examples that I'm going to show you today are actually related to tourism boards, CVBs, DMOs, but all these different things that I'm going to show you, and we'll talk through different examples, are ways that you can utilize to help do what you're doing to market all of your different businesses, especially the smaller businesses. So one of the first important things to do is to determine your key performance indicators, which essentially, what are your goals? What are you trying to do? So, and you might have several goals. It's always good to have a few rather than many. And I just listed a few here. These might not necessarily be yours, but many of these are related to each other. So are you wanting to maintain your customer base, increase your customer traffic, increase brand awareness, increase your social media followers? Are you wanting to make more people subscribe to a newsletter that you might send, or an e-blast that you send out notifying people that you have product back in your business? And then also determining before you do that even is, who are your customers? Who are the people who are actually coming to your business? Who are your social media followers? Are they all from your community? Are they coming from elsewhere? It's important to figure that out. And what do all these people share in common? And so one of the things that we'll be talking about are just determining and promoting what makes you, what makes you so unique, and why your business is important and necessary for people to know about, and the different products that you offer through your small business. And so taking destinations, for example, it's what are the known and lesser known things? And for you, you can think, what is unusual or unique to what you have to offer that no one else has to offer? Or is it something that you have that other people have, but what makes yours so unique? And so it's finding those few distinctive traits that you have and then making people aware. And so today we'll be talking about how to make people aware of those really unique things that you have to offer through your business. And then capturing that allure, that energy that you have, and then sharing that with others. So one of the most important things, and it sounds really difficult, but it's actually not, is really signing up through Google Analytics. Because a lot of what you do, I assume, and maybe some of you don't already have a digital presence through a website, I strongly recommend, even if it's a basic website, just building a few pages just to know, for people, your customers, your consumers, to know that you have a digital presence. So creating that website, and like I said, if it's even a few pages, plug in Google Analytics. And Google is free for small businesses. Once you get started, you don't need to add on all the bells and whistles at first, because you really just want to see how many people are even visiting your website. Where are they even coming from? And it's a great way to see, are there more people coming from Oklahoma? You might see that a lot of people are coming from Kansas. You'll see the different parts of Oklahoma that people are coming from. You'll see if people are coming to your website during a certain time of day. You'll see which page of your website. They might be lingering on a page related to a product you have, or they might be looking at the different events that you have to offer. So it's a helpful way to better understand your customer and the consumer. So I strongly recommend using that. And there are a lot of great tutorials online. YouTube has everything, it seems like. So definitely watch YouTube tutorials or just take a crash course in Google. It's very helpful, and I strongly recommend using that to plug into your website. Does everyone here have a website for their business? Or, okay, great. Again, even if it's just a few pages, it's great to have that. And also, after you all have websites, and you plug in Google Analytics, but it's also really helpful to know more about your customer by being on review sites. So the Oklahoma Aquarium, for example, and I still see us as a small business. We've only been open for about 18 years, and so we have nowhere near the number of visitors who come in like the Oklahoma City Zoo or the Tulsa Zoo. So we're still learning a lot and trying things. But we've learned a lot through using review sites. And for example, in the upper left-hand corner is Google Business. And I get on there every day, and any business can be on there. So make sure to sign up for that. And some people just leave stars, which is great and fine. And some people leave comments. And it might just be neat aquarium or love seeing the sharks. But I always comment and respond back. So there's that conversation that they know and receive my response, so they know that there is someone behind the business. Because as the different speakers said today, this morning, people are interested in knowing the face behind where their products are coming from. So it's important to have that ongoing conversation. And so I do it on Google Business every day, which all of you should sign up for. We also use TripAdvisor, and I'll talk about that in a minute. All of you should also be on TripAdvisor. It's really important to be on there, and when people leave reviews, you can also respond, and that increases your rating, and therefore presence on TripAdvisor, which is the most popular tool and travel website in the world. And then we also use something called Ask Nicely. That was something I wasn't aware of until I came to the Oklahoma Aquarium, but it's also a great tool because anyone who visits your company, you can essentially send them a survey and you can customize it to however you want. You can just ask, how was your experience? And because you have hopefully you store emails when they come or if they sign up for a different event that you have to offer, what you do is you just send them the survey and just ask about their experience. You can send them just one question, you can send them a couple of questions. It's always good to do fewer than more because people get overwhelmed with that. But just ask about their experience and they'll definitely let you know and respond. And then you can create a conversation, and also you just know more about your customer and they give great ideas. So we don't always get 10s. Sometimes we get, lower numbers for Ask Nicely, but it's really helpful for us because we can customize what we're doing to make it a better experience going forward for our visitor. And you can, it's called Ask Nicely.
Ask Nicely?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, so it's a great survey tool, and we're able to customize our experiences based on this feedback. Even it took us a while to get into the aquarium because of the weather outside, and we recommend that you plow earlier in the morning, something like that. But it changes the way we work and therefore create a better experience and learn more about our customers in the meantime. So I strongly recommend that as well. You do have to pay a subscription for it, but it's not exorbitant in terms of amount. It's, again, working with a small budget, it's one of those things that I strongly recommend utilizing. So also partnering with media and trip planning sites, especially for all of you in agritourism, you are essentially a part of an experience, and travelers these days are most excited and into those authentic experiences. They want to do what they can't do anywhere else. And even earlier today, a woman who's setting up later today offers flower picking, which I thought was so special, so unique, and so exciting. But that's an experience that you can do here that you can't necessarily do anywhere else. But I was also thinking that what she can do, and what I recommend you do in agritourism, is build those relationships if you haven't already. And it doesn't just have to be a newspaper. There are so many different small and local, regional, state organizations related to media that can really help you share your story. And essentially what you have is a story. You don't have to just sell a product specifically. So determining what your story is and speaking to local media, that's essentially free advertising. But it's a great story along the way. People, again, they want to know your story. They want to know where their food comes from or where their product comes from or what they can do and experience that they can't do anywhere else. So sharing that story with local media and national media and trip planning sites is important, which is why it's also really important to be present on TripAdvisor, which is a site that you might not necessarily think of. But if you do offer experiences to people who are local or out-of-town guests, please be present on TripAdvisor. And even you'll see TripAdvisor, once you sign up and register through there, they'll also send you cards and you can remind people to leave reviews on your site on TripAdvisor, because that boosts your overall ranking within TripAdvisor. So if someone comes to Edmond and you have a farm and you encourage visitors to your farm who are experiencing or purchasing great products, you can encourage them to leave a review on TripAdvisor so that when people are coming to the Edmond area, or Oklahoma City Metro included, they'll see that on TripAdvisor, which is why it's a great way to really be present, and it's free advertising essentially for you. And so one example is, if you go online, and this is what Edmond would look like, or Oklahoma City, or Shakota, or anywhere. And you can see all these different questions too, and people really are into forums. I'm sure several of you are on Reddit, or you have ongoing conversations on Facebook. This is actually a page in Louisville where people are asking about different experiences. So you can engage in that dialogue and talk to them about, oh, you should try this. Or your business will also be on there and you can share a link to your business through that forum as well. And when I mentioned media, I also encouraged national media. So when I was at National Geographic, we got press releases from all around the world, from small destinations to large destinations, to small businesses to large businesses. And the ones that always caught our eye were the smaller businesses or the smaller destinations, because they had the most unique story that we hadn't necessarily had heard of yet. And so I would strongly recommend that you do reach out to these different companies, because if you do offer experiences or a certain product that you can get within the state of Oklahoma, that is something that you can share with, for example, different travel organizations. So for example, there's a big makers movement happening and has been for several years. And that was a topic of conversation that we would often have. And we would do different stories about the makers movement in Philadelphia. And we would profile different local producers who might be restaurateurs, furniture makers, local farmers who then had a farm-to-table restaurant, all those different things. And people loved those stories. Again, knowing where the product comes from, getting to know the person behind the brand. We also did it for Asheville and several other destinations. And so that's something as a travel company and travel storytelling site, we really wanted to share. So when you have, with your small business, I strongly recommend pitching what you do, what makes you unique, and sharing that with these different organizations, because they are really hungry to hear from you. They're looking for different stories constantly. And it might not be this week or this month that they run a story, but they will keep an eye on it and they will do it soon. And so these are a few that I just really recommend seeking, especially Atlas Obscura. I'm not sure if any of you have heard of that, but they definitely highlight some of the unusual destinations or experiences offered around the world. And it's something for really fun that I know visitors are really interested in looking. So if there's something really obscure that you do that you don't think anyone else has quite done yet in Oklahoma, I recommend looking on there and submitting a query to put your information on there. And I mentioned meltwater and analytics just because that is a tool, a website that actually provides you the contact information for all of these different organizations. Depending on your subscription, it could be more expensive, but also for anyone interested, I can give you my card because I also have a lot of these contacts myself, having worked with several of them through the years. But these people are accessible. They do want to hear from you. Don't feel bad about sending. The worst thing you can do is don't try. So you must try because they do want your story. But like I said, Meltwater is a great tool to just get all different emails and phone numbers from around the world, from the Today Show to the Nightly News to the Tulsa World to different magazines to freelancers. And the great thing too is that you can actually break it down and find people related to a trend or a topic. So it could be agriculture, it could be food writers, for Bon Appetit, it could be all different kinds. It's amazing. And so another thing too is invite travel writers and influencers. I know that's such an overused word, but really these days, people are really interested in sharing stories and experiencing it for themselves, which is great because you want to read a story that someone's actually experienced before just writing something. But if you can, invite writers, whether it's from the state organizations related to media or nationally. If there is an Instagrammer who you think does an amazing job sharing different stories, just send them a direct message or just leave a comment on their page or on Facebook, because these people, they want to come and experience things. And many of them, if they don't do it for free, they actually just want to experience it for free. And with that, you get free advertising, and it's a great way to also just make more people and their demographic and followers aware of what you have to offer. So don't be afraid to invite people to come experience for themselves. So it's helpful to make a list of Instagram influencers who you really like, or YouTubers who you think are really fascinating, to come and actually showcase what you have to offer. And I just give a few different examples, like providing them a hashtag if you have a hashtag that you all always use at your small business. Providing them an itinerary to actually experience the town that you're located in, because they're always willing and wanting to showcase the people and how things are made in communities. And so that's something that is really easy to do. And again, the worst thing you can do is not try. But people, and you might think that they wouldn't want to come to Oklahoma, but these days, a place like Oklahoma is so trendy and so interesting. And as we heard again, agritourism is so popular. People are really wanting to do this. They just don't know how to find us. So definitely seek them if you can. And many of you already do this, but working with other local businesses. So maybe there's a way that you can partner with the hotel, with the bed and breakfast, so that they can experience something where they check in to the local B&B, and then that B&B helps set up their evening plans or their daytime itinerary, and that includes coming to your farm, coming to your winery, coming to experience what you have to offer. That's a great way to show how we all work together to kind of share our story. And that's something that's really authentic, because people want to know what the locals do. That was a trend and still is a trend. And as I said earlier, people want to have those authentic experiences and know where things are coming from, but they also want to know what the locals do. And so if your community is also going to your evening events, at the winery or at the events related to community gardens. That's something that visitors want to do as well. So I really recommend working with different local businesses to share each other's story and to promote each other, because that's the ultimate where the locals go experience that people want to actually experience for themselves. And then as often as you can, attend public events. Set up booths when possible. I think it's great even today seeing all those different vendors out there participating, because the more awareness that you can bring publicly where you can meet people face to face, the better it is for your small business. And so when you can, please do that. And also I put up here, think about Instagrammable pop-up spots, because people love taking pictures. We all do that. And if you can create something memorable that you bring, I mean, even if it's a little balloon arch or something cute that you make for different events, definitely bring that when possible, because people will remember and will hashtag and will share with their own followers. And then again, if you are in agritourism and you are wanting people from outside the state who come, there are 2 different conferences that I strongly recommend, and you're not ever too small to attend. And the 2 are IPW and also Trav Media's Marketplace. So this one is IPW, and this is where media from around the world gather to hear about the different things happening in different states. And maybe you're already working with the tourism board here in the state or your local tourism board, but this is a way to get in front of thousands of different people and make them aware of what you're doing. And I can tell you for sure that people from France, people from China, they're all really interested in what Oklahoma is doing and what Middle America is doing. So if you can't go it through the state, you should really look at attending yourself, because it's an instant way to meet international media and making them aware of what you're doing. And these are the stories that they want to hear and tell the most. And Trav Media, this one is typically in New York, and what it is you sit down with different writers from around the world and talk about your products, your small business, and what you have to offer in your community that's different than anywhere else. It's really fun. I've been on the other end where I was the media and just sat with different local organizations and heard about their different makers movements and heard about what was going on and the different experiences that they have to offer that's unlike anywhere else. And it makes the writers excited, and it's a great way, again, to get free advertising through writing, through content. It is your time, and it does cost, I believe, some to actually attend, but again, you can get in front of millions of people around the world if you tell the story in the right way. And then we all know that social media is so important. I'm sure that most of you are on Instagram and Facebook, or one, if not the other. So I always like to highlight that it's important to secure your accounts on as many different platforms as you can, because you never know, maybe one day you will utilize Twitter. Maybe one day you will be on Instagram. It doesn't have to be now that you're active on it, but at least secure those accounts so that you have them. And then I always think too, it's very important to be very present on Instagram and Facebook. We're becoming an even more visual world, so it's important to take photos and video for Instagram. Even if we don't think they're very good, those are often the ones that do the best, because people just want to see what's happening in a place. And to also utilize Facebook to continue ongoing dialogue with people through conversation threads and such, which I'm sure all of you are already doing, but it's important to keep that in mind. And for different accounts, test them, because what works for one small business might not work for another. Pinterest might be an opportunity and a place that you want to show several of your different products. I mean, that's also a very visual community, and it's a great place to really strengthen your brand. But try it, and if it doesn't work, then just sunset it. And when I say sunset, just leave it going. You don't have to delete the account, but at least you get to keep your social media handle, and you'll at least own as many different accounts as possible. So that's why I'm saying at least secure the accounts in your name, even if you don't use all of them. And when I say join the big three, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter are the best in terms of making others aware of what you have going on. But I'm also looking more at Pinterest for what you're doing because people are also very interested in seeing the visual aspect of what you all do. And so I'll give different examples here and show them of how you can utilize different accounts, especially Facebook and Instagram. And hopefully there'll be tools that you have already done or that you will do going forward. So for example, Facebook Lives are so popular and still really interesting, and it's the same for Instagram Lives. You can do that as well. But here, I had a colleague who went to West Virginia, and we were thinking, you know, we're a very global account, we have millions of followers, no one's going to care about West Virginia. It actually ended up being our most popular Facebook Live that we had ever done to that date because people were so interested in something different, something unusual, seeing the locals there, actually showing it's the tallest, it's one of the tallest bridges, steel bridges in the Western Hemisphere. So there were also some superlatives tied to it, and superlatives are always helpful. If you grow the biggest something or the most anything, people are always very fascinated with that. Whatever superlative you can find with your small business, definitely highlight that. But I think it's very important to utilize Facebook Live. Another great example to follow is just utilizing hashtags in different contests. So this is something that can be applied to anything, and I'm sure most of you have already noticed. If not, utilize this yourself. But using hashtag contests and seeing how many people can enter. So coming up with your own hashtag, and if you offer even, you know, anything, people are just so interested in free. I mean, I love anything free, and so if you can offer anything for free and provide a contest with a hashtag, that's a great way to get younger generations and also new followers and make all different types of people aware of your different products just through contests. And so using a hashtag, and then I also think it's important to share it on your website to show that you're also, you know, interested in showcasing what they shared with you. So a lot of it too is just free user-generated content. They're creating content for you to showcase of your own product. So if you're able to show that on your website, that's a great way to just have more content flowing through, more website pages, and more opportunity for free advertising that people are taking photos of your product for you. And then also, I always think too, it's important within your website to just show the different ways people can engage with you. So if you do have a contest going, make sure to put that on your website. Make sure that you let people know. Don't just put it on social media and then expect people to find it, because you probably do have a lot of people returning to your website and seeing what's going on. So make sure to have it in both places, because that's also really important to make more people aware that way. And then obviously it's important to continue to advertise in print. I always think it's helpful to, if you can, have the opportunity to promote yourself on billboards if possible, to be in the local travel guides. If you can only be in one, I really recommend working with the tourism, Oklahoma Tourism Group, to really promote through their travel guides. And also, one thing that I've learned working at the aquarium is how important signage is. So even just making sure that you print something out to let people know where you're located, because people get so frustrated these days, and time is of the utmost importance to all of us, to just make it very clear where you're located. So even if it's just off the side of the road, letting people know to turn here, make sure to do that, because people will just keep driving and decide to forget about it, and we don't want that. So be very clear with your signage, and that can honestly be your best form of print advertising. And even within your own space, so within your own farm or whatever facility you might have or your small business, make sure everything's clear for people. Make sure people know where they can buy something, how much something costs. If there's an experience that you have to offer, it might not be today, but it's next week, an event, make sure you have some signage within your facility, because that's also free advertising that you're giving them. And that's something at the aquarium that we often forget about, that, you know, we offer interactive feedings with turtles. Well, we hadn't had the appropriate signage out, so that was a missed opportunity for us. I mean, it's in a clear, open space, but we should still have signage that notifies people what the cost is, when it's taking place, all of those different things. So make sure to do that as best as you can. And also, obviously, advertising on digital is so important these days. So when you can, run campaigns, whether it's through Google or through a website that's affiliated with your small business, or if it's an organization that is relevant to your business. There are always different opportunities. And my key is that I'd never advertise online if it's more than $300. So there are opportunities to do that. And when I say that, I mean related to the aquarium. So definitely look for other relevant websites that are related to your company, your small business, and look for ways to advertise there, because it's a great way to promote traffic going back and forth between that website and yours. And then again, I also think it's important to create custom content. And when I say custom content, I mean writing content for your own website or providing it to another relevant website. Again, we're always, as storytellers, when I say we, I'm even thinking about my time. I worked at Tulsa People magazine for several years. And there, we often worked with people who were interested in sharing their own stories. And it was great for people to share their own stories in their own words. But right now, you can think of content. You might not think there are any stories you can actually write, but people love stories like the 10 best places to pick flowers in Oklahoma this summer. Like, that's the story. But you can even make it more local to what you do. What are the top 6, and lists are always very popular, and again, superlatives. What are the top 6 best vegetables to eat this spring? I actually don't know, but that's something I would click on if I saw it somewhere. And if you have that on your website and then you share it on social media, that's another way for people to be aware of what you do. But it's a great way to bring people in through storytelling. So think of those different ideas, whether it's food, whether it's different type of product you have to offer. There are always different ways to create lists, to create stories, and share that. And that's what custom content is. And then when you can, also shoot video. It's always important to do that. It doesn't have to be good. It doesn't have to be expensive. That's why YouTube is so popular these days. So when you can, create video. And I'll show you a few different examples of how to utilize video beyond just Facebook. And for many of you, I'm sure you have beautiful, vast farms. So if you can, take drone footage of that. And even just showing above is probably beyond gorgeous. And people would love to see that. So obviously, Instagram, great way to showcase your product. And here's one that we did of just showing animals, because people love seeing animals. So if you have animals, please show them interacting with their caretakers, with anyone. So here's one of that. And this was a story we actually did at National Geographic, but it was one of the most popular of the year because it was showing someone interacting with animals. And so I'll just show a few seconds of it. Even if you're showing yourself feeding animals, just animals in general. And this was all taken on a phone. So many of you all have smartphones and can do this as well. Maybe not with elephants, but also different types of cute animals. And so another good example too is just showcasing ambient video. And so this was me just walking through the aquarium with a phone. That's all it was. And then that was a piece of content that we could share on social media. And it's a way for people to see what they can actually experience for themselves. So if you can just walk through your property and show what you have, even if you don't think it's beautiful to a lot of people because people just want to see and experience something different that they haven't before. And then obviously you can utilize your video and place it in other social platforms like Twitter, for example. Twitter is not as popular, I think, for some small businesses as larger businesses, but that's something that you can look forward to in the future once you build up Facebook and Instagram. And then, as I said, drone footage is also really important. So if you can, because you all probably have beautiful properties, please make sure to show that. And then lastly, also with the theme of elephants, get on YouTube, secure a YouTube account, and whatever footage you have, even if it's just animals walking by, that could be something really interesting, and you could probably build a pretty large following on YouTube. And it's a great way just to showcase video of your property, of what's going on, because again, people want to know what's happening. People want to know where things come from. And so once they see it themselves, they'll probably eventually go experience it themselves. And then another great resource is to create newsletters or e-blasts. Whenever people come to your business, make sure to get their emails, or if they come to your website, create a way for them to actually, like a box for them to enter their email. Most people do. We all do in many ways when we go to a website. And that way you can constantly message and communicate when different things are taking place within your small business. And it's a great way to figure out who's actually a loyal customer and who's actually who are the ones who are most interested in engaging with your product, with your small company. And that's a really great way to just easily target them. It can be weekly, it can be monthly, whatever you think is the best. But it's a really great way to share what's new, what's latest, what's happening, to show that you always are working on new things. And then also, I think it's a fun idea to engage with your local community if you can in any way, because all of you together can work together ultimately and create a way to make people aware of the different offerings in your community, because ultimately when your small business is successful, your community is successful. So if there's a way that you can engage with your community to create some kind of campaign to make more people come and be aware of your small businesses, I would strongly recommend that. Because when you do get your community involved, and this is something I saw at National Geographic, but also even within the last year in Tulsa with the Gathering Place, you get a lot of big accolades and more awareness of what's going on. I know a lot of businesses have benefited from the Gathering Place having opened and having had a lot of press recently. And so I strongly recommend, when possible, to work with your community to make nationally people aware of what's happening and what's new. And these are just some examples of how we did these two articles at National Geographic about Columbus and Tulsa, and they were some of the most popular top 10 of the year because that community was so excited to be featured nationally. So I can only imagine if and when you contact larger organizations, you will be featured. And then your community will be so proud that everyone within your community will share it as well, which makes it even greater awareness that builds from that. And so again, just to recap, these are some of the really important ways that you can spend no money or you can spend little money. Again, this is nothing that's costing thousands and thousands of dollars. It is in many ways your time, which time again is the most precious and most valuable. But there are different ways that can really help you grow and market what you're doing and ultimately reach out to new customers, but also maintain your current customer base. And so I strongly recommend following through on all of these, and I promise you, you'll really grow and be an even more successful business than you are now. but it's also been such an honor to be here today. So if you have any questions, I'd love to answer them, whether publicly or one-on-one. I just really appreciate your time, and hopefully you found it really valuable. I'm happy to help in any way, so thank you for being here.